Hello and welcome to Marhaba Arabic 3.0. In this video, we'll be discussing the topic of moon and sun letters, which is special characters in step 4 of our Self-Teach Arabic book. Now, if you don't have a copy of that book and you are interested, you will find a link in the description below. So let's jump into the topic of moon and sun letters, and let me say this topic is very simple. These are not new letters that you have to learn. It is just the same 28 letters of the alphabet being split into two categories, 14 moon letters and 14 sun letters. And this rule, or the topic of moon and sun letters, applies to words that begin with Aleph Lam. So you should know the difference, because when a word begins with Aleph Lam, if the letter after Aleph Lam is a moon letter, the word will have a different pronunciation than if it was a sun letter. Don't worry too much. I'm going to make it much simpler than this and explain it into more detail. But first, let's get to know the moon letters and the sun letters. So you can see here the moon letters are Aleph, Ba, Jim, Ha, Kha, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Mim, Ha, Waw, and Ya. And the sun letters are Ta, Tha, Dal, Dhal, Ra, Zain, Sin, Shin, Sad, Dad, Ta, Za, Lam, and Noon. Awesome. Let's look at examples of words which have moon letters and sun letters and see how it affects the pronunciation of words that begin with Aleph Lam, because remember, the topic of moon and sun letters is only relevant for words that begin with Aleph Lam. Now, when it is a moon letter that comes after Aleph Lam, the letter Lam is pronounced. Once again, so if we have a word that begins with Aleph Lam and the next letter is a moon letter, then we pronounce Aleph Lam, Al. Like this word, Al Jabal, the mountain. Al Batal, the hero. Al Matar, the rain. Al Qamar, the moon. Now, if you notice, one thing all these words have in common, we are pronouncing for each word the first two letters Al, Aleph Lam, because the Jim in this word is a moon letter, so we pronounce it Al Jabal, Al Batal, Al Matar. Because the Mim is a moon letter, we pronounce Aleph Lam Al. Because the Ba is a moon letter, we pronounce Aleph Lam Al. And because Qaf here is also a moon letter, we pronounce Aleph Lam Al-Qamar. Okay, so now let's look at sun letters, and we'll see how the sun letters which come after Aleph Lam change the pronunciation of the word. So for sun letters, when it is a sun letter that comes after Aleph Lam, here the Lam is silent. So here in moon letters, we're saying Al. For sun letters, the Lam is silent. We don't actually pronounce it. What we do is we go from Aleph to the next letter after Lam. Let's look at some examples. Okay, here I've marked in red what we actually pronounce. So you can see the Lam is not marked in red because it's silent. So we actually pronounce this word as Az-zir, 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 which means the button. So you notice we're not saying al-zir, we are saying az-zir. So we're skipping the lam and we go straight from Aleph to the sun letter. Aleph to the sun letter. Az-zir. Same for an-nur. You notice there, I did not say al-nur, I said an. So I went straight from the Aleph, a, to the noon, an-nur. Again, at-tayr, which means the bird. I did not pronounce the lam. The lam is silent. Went straight from Aleph to ta. At, not al-ta. At-tayr. Same for the final word, ash-shams, which means the sun. Ash-shams. I'm not saying al-shams. Al is for words that after alif lam, the letter is a moon letter. But when it is a sun letter after alif lam, we skip the lam and we just say ash-shams. Ash-shams. Okay? And now you're probably wondering, how do I know when it's a sun letter or a moon letter? Do I have to learn them all off by heart and know which ones are which? Well, yes, you can do that. But the easiest way to identify if the letter after alif lam is a moon or sun letter is through the shadda. So if you remember the special character shadda, where it's like having a double letter, we pronounce that letter twice. It's a sun letter after alif lam will always have a shadda on it. So you don't really have to learn these 14 moon letters and 14 sun letters off by heart and know which one fall into which category. All you need to look out for when you're reading Arabic, if the word which begins with alif lam, if the letter after alif lam has a shadda, if you notice in the examples for sun letters, the letter after alif lam is carrying a shadda, and that's telling you that this word or this letter is a sun letter. So we're going to pronounce it as zir. We're not going to pronounce the lam. Okay, so that is the easiest way. So if you see a word where after alif lam, the next letter doesn't have a shaddi, like this one, al-jabal, then jim is a moon letter, ba is a moon letter, mim is a moon letter, qaf is a moon letter, because they don't have a shaddi on each of those letters. Whereas in the sun category, you will see after alif lam, each one has a shadda. Noon, shadda, ta has a shadda, sheen has a shadda. So that is the easiest way to identify if a letter is a sun letter or moon letter. So then that way you can pronounce the word that begins with alif lam correctly. Either it will be al-jabal, where you pronounce the alif lam, so the letter after alif lam is a moon letter, or the letter after alif lam is a sun letter, it has a shadda, so we skip lam and we just say az-zir. Okay, and that is the key difference of or between moon letters and sun letters in words when they begin with alif lam. And that's all you need to really take away from this, is that when you see a word and the letter after alif lam has a shadda, then you know it's a sun letter, so you skip the pronunciation of the lam. You just say, for example, an-nur, or if it's a moon letter after the alif lam, you pronounce the lam and you say al-batal. Okay, that is the key takeaway. Okay, and it's that simple. So there's not much more to moon and sun letters. That is pretty much it for this topic, especially at a beginner level where you're just learning how to read. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, you know what to do next. And thanks a lot for watching.